Now, I've gotten to know Lismore Mayor Steve Krieg very well over the past 11 months. He's the sort of bloke you want in an emergency, level-headed. He's determined to get his point heard. So what's going on with flood relief funding? New data out today reveals only 25%, so that's a quarter, of the $1.6 billion promised to flood-devastated towns in the Northern Rivers area has actually been paid out by the Perrottet government. Many of those residents are still homeless, out of work, businesses are ruined. Steve joins us from Lismore. Great to catch up with you again, my friend. What's gone wrong here?
I don't know if it's gone wrong particularly, Steve, but unfortunately 2022 was a pretty bad year as far as disasters in New South Wales have gone, and being probably first cab off the rank in Lismore and no doubt the biggest natural disaster, there was a lot of attention, a lot of focus on getting Lismore and the Northern Rivers back up and running. But as we've seen over the last few months with flooding out west and different things, I think what we've experienced is a loss of resources. Like everyone around the globe, it seems there seems to be a labour shortage. We had dedicated Service New South Wales crews set up in Lismore helping people individually fill out their grant applications and other such things. In Lismore now we're back to our own little service centre which is operating out the back of our golf course, believe it or not, and they're doing their best, but we just don't have the resources to be able to help people.
What about now, 6 weeks away from the anniversary? That's going to be a very tough day, I know, for everybody. If you look at what's happened in the last 11 to 12 months, are there people still not back in their own homes? I mean, I know you got your own business back up and running, but it took you forever and you were couch surfing for a while. Are there still people who are living in properties that probably shouldn't be inhabited, Steve?
No doubt about it, Pricey. It's a sad old sorry sight, Lismore, when you get out into the residential areas over in North and South Lismore that were heavily impacted. There are a lot of caravans in front yards. There are still people living in their cars underneath their houses. We've got nearly full occupancy in our temporary pod villages. It's a bit of a false economy is the term that I've been using, because you can drive into Lismore today and have a look around the CBD and say, well, it's clean, it's tidy, it's looking pretty good, but we've got about a 25% occupancy rate for our CBD businesses. A lot of our homes, you know, we've got 1,200 odd homes that we're looking at possibly relocating or being involved in that buyback. So a large percentage of our population has left. Some of our big schools are looking at relocating out of our main CBD area. There's a lot of underlying issues. 2023 is going to be a tough year for Lismore going forward as well.
Yeah, it's really sad, and I just feel for everybody involved. That story today suggested that a lot of the grants to business there have been ruled ineligible by the government. 67%, I think, was the number of small business grants were rejected. 80% of rental support applications have been declined. Why is that happening?
I've learned a lot over the last 10 months, Steve, and speaking to Steph Cook very regularly, our State Emergency Services Minister, she told me early on that people quite often give up on the application process. It is pretty hard, and if you remember back early on, the first round of residential grants that came out, there was quite a high number of fraudulent claims put in. So the government obviously put a few tighter restrictions on to make sure that the money would be going to people that needed it. But in doing that, it's become a pretty tedious and monotonous task to fill out the applications, and people are literally giving up on that. It's almost, I don't want to say it, but it's almost too hard. So, you know, we really need those Service New South Wales support teams to maybe do a blitz in Lismore and the Northern Rivers again, just to offer that one-on-one caseworker type scenario that we had in the June, July sort of period to really help those people push through their applications. If they leave it for a certain time, I think it's 3 weeks, the the applicant automatically gets an email to say that their application's been denied. So I think that's where that's coming from. But as I said, you know, it's not been a usual year for natural disasters in New South Wales. There's been many of them, and resources are thin, but we just need to focus on trying to get those applications filled out so that people can get the money that they so desperately need.
Just finally, you've always been an upbeat bloke. You've been through a hell of a lot. How are you getting on personally? I just want to make sure you're okay, are you?
Oh, you know, I've had a relaxing Christmas, and we're gearing up for another big year. I'm going okay. I'm having more good days than bad, Steve. But you know, we need people to call into Lismore and say good day and support the local businesses. It's as I said, we've lost a lot of our population due to a lack of housing that's been destroyed, and everyone's doing it tough. There's no doubt about that. But we'll get there. I'm optimistic, and I'm really looking forward to what we've got planned. As you said, 6 weeks until the 1 year anniversary, and council through the state government's been working on some commemoration activities, and looking forward to getting into that and moving forward into the future.
Yeah, I suspect you're going to get smashed by the media again. Always a pleasure to catch up with you, my friend. Thanks a lot, Steve.
Thanks, Steve. Appreciate it, mate.